theme in the story is corruption. The corruption that comes from city life. What does corruption mean to you?
Something being destroyed.
Something being destroyed. What else? Pardon? Greed. Anybody else? Yeah.
Someone in power being influenced by a negative person.
Okay.
Party.
Somebody in power being influenced by a negative person. Or something, doing something negative from power. Yeah. You've read past the section where when Khumalo is coming to Johannesburg, he's what we call a bit naive because he hasn't come up. He's come from a village where people trust each other and can depend on each other. What happens when he wants to buy a ticket for the bus?
Gets robbed.
What happened exactly? Does anybody remember that scene? Can they just describe the scene, Teddy?
He gives some money to the man who says he's going to go buy a ticket, and he just walks off with it. He buys a ticket on the bus.
He found out he's been taken. He says, geez, the guy sounds like a nice guy. The guy just walked around the corner. That hadn't happened to him before. Would you consider that a form of corruption?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Would you agree that that's more likely to happen in a city than in your village at home? Why is that? Shannon, why would you think?
Well, like in the city there's more people and you don't know everybody. So if somebody were to just walk off in the crowd, you wouldn't be able to find them as easily. Plus people need money and stuff.
People need money in the village too, but you don't know them. That's interesting. If you don't know people, are they more likely to take advantage of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? All right. Have you seen any other examples? Can you think of any other examples of corruption in the book? Yeah, Philip.
When you read the newspaper about like people getting beaten.
People getting beaten. Yeah. Yeah. Any other examples? Jack?
When he finds out what his sister's been doing in the city.
Yes, his sister's been a prostitute in the city. That's more likely to happen in a city than in a small village. All right. Why do you, well, we've talked about this a little bit. Why in a city? And Shannon said, because you're less likely to know the people around you. You're more likely to need money. Yeah, Jack?
In a small town, people help each other out a lot more, but in a city, that's not really the case, so you have to fend for yourself a lot more.
Mm-hmm. My work this year, I'm not teaching this year here, and my work this year, a lot of it revolves around aid, helping areas in Africa. And one thing that we come up against over and over is corruption. Large amounts of money, in the 1960s, the 70s, and up until now, but in different forms, large amounts of money have been given to communities, to organizations. But the guy who gets the money and is supposed to go do this or that puts it in his own pocket, right? Corruption. So the idea is how can we decrease corruption so that the money and the help goes to places where it's effective. And some of the most recent literature, people from within Africa are saying the best thing to do is stop giving us money. Let us figure it out for ourselves. What was your comment?
Well, people are there in the cities, isn't it? Don't they have more opportunity to get money?
Why would they have more opportunity to get money?
So the bigger businesses are in the city?
That's right. So there's more access to money. And if you're someone who's gone to the city and you've made a lot of money and you've never had money your whole life, what are you likely to do?
Spend it.
Spend it. Yes, especially if you mix in a few other little bad things, maybe a little alcohol, maybe just the excitement of the city. Maybe you'll spend it instead of remembering to send it home to your family. Okay? Who thinks that they have never indulged in temptation. They've never been worried about being tempted by things they shouldn't do. No hands up. It's difficult. 15 years ago, what happened in South Africa? I'll give you a hint. 15 years ago was 1994. I'll give you another hint.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Yeah, it was the first vote. In fact, it was April 27th, 1994, and a student in this school was born on that day. And it was the day that everybody could vote. And if everybody could vote, and at that point about 8 out of 10 people were from black tribes, and then naturally it makes sense that the black people came into power, as it should be. That's the majority. Okay? This is how the mines look. Now, 15 years later, there are still mines. Many of them have closed down. There are still mines. Back here, you see a lake. It's a cyanide lake. It's a lake that has been, not a single thing grows in it because of the cyanide from the mines. 2009. These are called tailings. It's where the rocks are deposited. That's how it looks today. It's still a big part of the economy, even though many have closed down. And the townships. People can live wherever they want now. They don't have to live out. The black people don't have to live outside the city anymore in townships. Yeah? But many still do. Things do not change quickly, do not improve all at once, and many do. This is a visit that we made to a township about a year and a half ago, where my family, we did some work there for the day. This is how they live. The homes are built out of scraps that they find along the side of the road a lot of the time. And when we speak with them, here are some children that we worked with. This is my son and my stepdaughter. When we speak with them, and this is Nanelli, and she is an example of she represents where a lot of the country, the hope and the forward moving of the country. Nanelli grew up in a township and still lives in a township because she feels comfortable in the township, she says. It's her family, her home, her people are there. But she goes to Cape Town every day and she works. She's the director of an organization that does community service work in the townships. There's much more mobility. And people are still working in the mines. And things are still difficult. If you ever think that you have less money or less material than someone else you know, everybody you know has far more than the average person in South Africa and many African countries. But struggles don't just suddenly end with the end of apartheid. We're 15 years later, and still the poverty and the corruption exists. Okay? That's what I have, and I'd love any questions or comments that you guys have. Wasn't sure what time we go until.
We have about 8 minutes left.
Okay. Right. Any questions about South Africa today, about, and if you don't for me, I'll have questions for you. Well, let's go to the book then. What do you think of the writing style? Is it, if you have it with you, take it out. How often do you see quotation marks in there?
Never.
Never. Why not?
America's the only country that uses them, or England and America, I think. The rest of the world uses the dashes instead.
Well, it's because he learned it from the one author that he adapted it from the one author that he liked.
Mm-hmm. What's it like for you guys to read with the hyphens like that?
It's weird because you can't tell when he's actually speaking.
Right, when he's speaking, or how can you figure out who's speaking?